This film is presented by Miss Lonteen and Miss Garman's 4th grade class at Waterford Village Elementary School.
In social studies, we've been learning about human geography and why people move from place to another. That's called migration. This is the story of how the Potawatomi Indian tribe migrated out of Michigan.
We are in Potawatomi territory in the place now called Michigan. The year is 1768. 3 Potawatomi people are talking about some recent news.
We've been living on this land for hundreds of years now. First, the French came to live nearby and called their place Detroit.
But after the British defeated the French in 1763, they took over our city. More people from England came to settle here on our colonies along the Atlantic Ocean. Since then, European people have been trying to move further west into our homeland.
Have you heard about the Treaty of Fort Stanwix? They just signed it last week. The treaty says that the Ohio River will now be the boundary line between the European and Indian places.
That's good news. This treaty will help everyone understand which land is whose. We should be able to relax a little knowing that this boundary is set.
Yes, we should.
The year is now 1825. Treaties have been made between some of the Potawatomi nations in Michigan Territory in the United States of America. Some Euro-American people in Saginaw are talking about the recent treaties.
Did you hear this? Since the Potawatomi and their other tribes gave up their land in the Treaty of Saginaw in 18 and the Treaty of Chicago in 1821, more of the land in the southern Michigan Territory is now available for non-Indian people to buy.
How much land did they give up?
Most of the southern part of the territory, the Potawatomi gave up. All of the southwestern Michigan, south of the Grand River, except the area west of the St. Joseph River.
What will happen to the Indian people who live on the land now?
They will have to move to the land reserved for them in the southeast Michigan. This land was reserved by the tribes in the treaties.
I hear they are building. I hear they are making a new. I hear they are building a new road from Detroit to Chicago. This will force more of the Potawatomi people to be removed soon. Well, that may be true, but we all need more land for farming. The land near the new road will be very valuable.
It is now 2 years later. Some Potawatomi people are talking to a reservation to southeast Michigan.
This is terrible. A new road is being built from Detroit to Chicago. We are being forced to exchange our reserve lands here on the east side of Michigan for some land over on the west side of Michigan. That is terrible. I don't want to move over there. My family and I have lived here for many years. I'm afraid of what will happen to us.
Do we have to?
Yes, a treaty was signed in September. We don't have a choice. We will have to start moving west soon. Well, I'm not going to move west. I'm going to take my family and flee to an island near Canada where we will be safe. It's called Walpole Island. Some people I know have already gone there so they wouldn't be forced to move west.
That sounds like a good plan. I think I'll go with you.
Because of the 1827 treaty, many villages in lower Michigan territory were broken up far away. New Potawatomi villages were formed. Some
people ran away to Walpole Island. In 1830, Congress passed an Indian Removal Act. This meant that all Indian people were supposed to move west of the Mississippi River. Only one Potawatomi leader was able to negotiate a separate treaty that allowed his band to stay in Michigan. His name was Chief Leopold Pokagon. The rest of the Potawatomi people in Michigan would be forced to leave. This next scene takes place in 1835.
Okay, everyone here has to start packing. We have been told by the government to remove you to a reservation in Kansas across the Mississippi River.
What is this about?
After the Treaty of Chicago was signed in 1833, you were told you have to move reservations in the West. Now it's time to go.
What if we don't want to go? We just moved here from Eastern Michigan a few years ago.
Sorry, but you have no choice in the matter. You have to move west like it says in the treaty.
The remaining Potawatomi people in Michigan Territory were removed from their homelands to Kansas in the next few years. Although 1,200 people moved into northern Michigan, others were allowed by the Canadian government to move Manitoulin Island in Upper Canada.
Potawatomi people arrived at the new reservations in the West. They found that the land was not good for growing food. They had to rely on the United States government to provide food. The Potawatomi did not even get to stay long in Kansas. Government leaders in the state of Kansas soon wanted the reservation land for non-Indians. They forced the Potawatomi to move again to reservations in Oklahoma.
By the late 1840s, some people from my tribe began slowly moving back into Michigan, which became a state in 1837. They purchased land and formed new communities. Some of these communities are homes to many Potawatomi people today.
In 1913, Potawatomi people returning to Wisconsin were granted a reservation at a place in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan called Hannahville. Today, there are many Potawatomi people who live, work, and go to school on this reservation.
Other groups came back to their Michigan homelands after living in Canada. Many Potawatomi people stayed in the West on the lands reserved for them in Oklahoma.
The history of the Potawatomi removal is a long and often sad story. It is the story of people who were forced away to move from their homelands. In 1934, the United States government passed the Indian Organization Act. Many tribes organized governments for themselves that would keep the lands they reserved for themselves in treaties. Today, some Potawatomi people live in reservations, but many of them live in cities and towns all over the United States and Canada. The Potawatomi people are proud of their history and their heritage. They have not allowed themselves to remain permanently separated. For example, every summer, Potawatomi people living in Michigan, Wisconsin, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Ontario come together to celebrate their ties to each other. The bands rotate the honor and responsibility of hosting what is called the Potawatomi Gathering. People have the opportunity to meet distant relatives from all over the country and celebrate being together.